Are you going to run for Senate?
Of course, we're thinking about Senate. No, this is the problem with politics. Everyone is always focused on the next job.
I'm curious, are you considering a run for Senate?
I'm busy with my job here in the House of Representatives and plan to run for re-election in the House of Representatives.
So is that a no?
No, I'm not planning to run for Senate. If I could be more clear, I will for you.
All right, that is Congressman Mike Gallagher and Brian Stile right here on Upfront in recent weeks about a possible 2024 U.S. Senate bid. As we reported last week, Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin did in fact make her re-election bid official Wednesday. J.R. Ross, editor of our editorial partner, WisPolitics.com, is standing by with his new reporting. J.R., I first want to set up with what former Governor Scott Walker told us last week. Take a listen. Who's going to compete with her on the Republican side?
Well, it's wide open. I mean, that's the multi-million-dollar question. And the one thing that Tammy Baldwin has done exceptionally well during her time in Congress and now through several terms in the United States Senate, she raises a boatload of money. Anybody who's thinking about getting in, and there's some good names, there might be some private business people and others. The key is they've got to realize, can they put enough in not only to win the primary, but don't make the mistake that happened in the governor's race. Put money in to win the primary, but don't invest enough in to win the general. That's going to be the key to success if it's someone who hasn't been in office before.
All right, Tara, we're going to get your reporting and these names in a second. But first, is Walker right in this analysis in terms of what Republicans will need to do just in terms of dollars and fundraising?
Well, there is an interesting case we made about for a self-funder because he or she could maybe put in the seed money to get this going. But, you know, we're talking a race that could be $200 million, $250. I hate throwing out numbers out of thin air, but that's not really thin air because you look at like what happened in 2022 in Wisconsin. You think about the exponential growth, what we saw in the Supreme Court race. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities of seeing a $200 million Senate race in Wisconsin in 2024.
You've been talking to a lot of these potential candidates. Where do things stand at this point?
Well, there are several tiers or pots. Let's start with kind of the group of people actually doing something. So Scott Mayer, a businessman from Franklin, I talked to him this week. He was actually out in Washington, D.C. talking to consultants, others about, you know, the possibility of getting in. Eric Hovde, another businessman from Madison. I've talked to him in recent weeks. He has said that he is looking at getting in. Remember, he ran for U.S. Senate in 2012, placed second in that primary to Tommy Thompson. So they're doing stuff. They are real possibilities no matter what happens in the next year and a half. Then you have kind of the dream candidate for Mitch McConnell, the Senate minority leader out in D.C. That is Mike Gallagher. There have been a lot of Republicans nationally trying to recruit Gallagher because of his profile, the fact he had $3 million in the bank at the end of last year. He has a lot of things that are looking for a credible candidate. The thing, though, is Gallagher is also fairly smart. Realizes that if you have the current dynamic of what's going on in Wisconsin not change from now until next November, Tammy Baldwin is that much tougher to beat. She's a proven fundraiser, two-term incumbent. She works the state really well. I mean, those are all challenging things no matter what. But look at what happened in the Supreme Court. Look what happened last fall. The math for Republicans is getting very difficult in that Dane County, Milwaukee County are turnout machines for Democrats where Republicans are just having a hard time getting numbers out of. The WOW counties are not performing the way they used to. And they have a money problem. The Democratic Party of Wisconsin just has more resources than the Republican Party does. So Gallagher is probably like this out-of-reach candidate unless things fall apart for the economy and for Joe Biden. If Joe Biden's numbers go to pot, if we talk about a debt ceiling negotiation that doesn't go anywhere this summer and the economy craters, now the dynamic has changed, right? But then you also bring in this third pot of candidates. You're talking like a Roger Roth, former state senator from Appleton who ran for lieutenant governor last year. Kevin Nicholson ran for governor in 22, Senate in 20. Those guys would say, okay, things have changed. Maybe I'm going to get interested now. But you have to have a lot happen to pull them in. So really, I'm focused right now on Mayer and Hovde as real possibilities. These other guys as well. If things go the right way for Republicans, then we can talk about it.
There was that national article a few weeks ago about former Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. Is that gaining any traction? Is that any serious conversations happening?
Look, when I talk to Republican operatives, they don't take him seriously. Remember, he said he's not ruling it out. That's not really considering a campaign for U.S. Senate. That is kind of getting attention. There's a difference between getting attention and being a serious candidate. And people in Madison don't take him seriously. Remember, Republicans have like this soul searching right now about, is it the message? Is it abortion? Is it the candidates? I mean, Clark would be a nightmare on basically all three scenarios to Republicans I talked to. So they didn't even mention him as a possibility. They've got to find somebody who can resonate with suburban voters, young voters. They are losing these voters left and right. They can't keep doing that and be competitive in Wisconsin. Now, keep in mind, 2024 November, 3.2 million people are going to turn out versus 1.8 million in April for this election, the Supreme Court. So different electorate. We're still a purple state overall, but that math is hard unless you've got somebody who can appeal to these electorates, these constituencies that Republicans are having a hard time getting to, which, by the way, Tammy Baldwin does a great job appealing to them, which is why she's such a strong candidate. Anyone
else in the delegation that may at least consider a bid? Stiles essentially has said no to us. How about someone like a Tom Tiffany?
I get the impression Tiffany wants to run statewide someday, or has thought about running statewide someday, but he's not a very strong fundraiser. And that's a challenge because you need money. He doesn't have personal wealth that we know of to go do $10, $20 million. So how do you, from northern Wisconsin, build a war chest in a statewide operation to take on Tammy Baldwin and the machine that she has? It's a possibility, but it'd be very tough. And again, you're talking about you'd have to have the right scenario, the right factors in the environment politically to make that even a viable candidacy.
A long road ahead, yet here we are. J.R. Rossiter of WisPolitics.com. J.R., like always, thank you.
Anytime.
Up next, the playoff economics.